إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. نحمده تعالى على نعمائه لا نحصي ثناء عليه، وكما أثنى على نفسه أو أثنى عليه رسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام نشكره ولا نكفره، نؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، ومولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. ثم أما بعد، أحبتي في الله، we can officially say that the Islamic State was established and created the moment that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam moved and migrated to Medina. And that would be the anniversary that we will see tomorrow or the day after, when the month of Muharram starts. Because the Islamic calendar was agreed to start with the migration of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to Medina, because it was a new beginning, a history in the making, fleeing from fear and oppression of Mecca to the possibility of flourishing and freedom of Medina. And as the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam landed in Medina and set the stage for the truly first democratic, free, and safe environment in what was known to be Yathrib to become Medina, he created a brotherhood that humanity has never seen before, and neither will they ever see again, between Al-Aws wal Khazraj. He brought in the suburbs into the metropolitan area. He created a unity of neighborhoods, as he did with Quba, bringing them to the city of Medina and linking them through Masjid Quba. He established treaties and neighborhood rights with people of other faiths, as he did with the Jewish faith groups, which there were 3 of them. He established with them in harmony and neighboring alliances to where they protect each other, where the city becomes home for all of them. And that was the case until the Jewish tribes betrayed that treaty agreement. It was then that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam also established an economy and routes of trade, and the city of Medina became a destination for many. The establishment of the Islamic State was full of privileges, not deprived of some for the sake of others. It was a source of freedom, not enslaving. It grew to empower those who came. It was a source of love for the people of Medina. The native people of Medina did not feel that they were intruded on or their home is occupied by. to where one of them will come to their brothers that migrated from Mecca and say, I would love to share my property with you. I would love to give you half of what I own. They found that in them by their own will. To the extent that Allah Ta'ala said about the people of Medina, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. They will even favor the migrators, the foreigners that came into the city over themselves. If you just read the story of how the people of Medina embraced the people of Mecca and how the people of Mecca refused to take the advantage of the people of Medina, it would be a story of fairy tales. One would never believe, except it is documented in every historical book, as it is documented in the Quran al-Kareem. That is a state that all yearn and dream of. And how we celebrated the establishment of the Islamic State has continuously shown what was that state built on. It was built on faith and love. That's why the month of Muharram, as it is the month of Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah and Rajab, are considered sacred months. No blood should be shed. No wars should be declared. All should feel safe. It is not celebrated through showing might and army demonstrations, as many of our third world countries do, to where they wait for their Independence Day to showcase the power and might of their military that really is directed towards their citizens, not an enemy abroad. And neither is the Islamic State was celebrated through fireworks of illusions, that there's freedom for all, and that it was established on that equality. Our history is something we can be proud of, not ashamed of. Yesterday, while my daughter and I were in the car, I asked her, honey, do you know how old the United States is? She goes, yes, it's 248 years. That's great. Do you know how the United States was established? She goes, yes. The Europeans came and killed all the Indians and poisoned them. Then we became the United States. I can't say that she was wrong. I cannot say that. And then we had our moments of discussion. And it rang to me and brought to my attention how little we talk to our families and children. How the Rasul ﷺ started his rule with such humbleness. Let's give a few flashbacks. The people of Medina were waiting for his appearance, and they did not know from which direction he would be coming from. Each day they will come out and wait for him until they were surprised to see him. Now many of us hear those chanting, Tala al-Badru alayna, and we assume that nasheed was given when the Rasul ﷺ arrived from Mecca. In reality, that's not true. Because that was chanted when the Rasul ﷺ came back from Tabuk, as many of Ahlul Hadith say, not the historians. He arrives to his family as a guest, not an occupier. In fact, he did not come to Medina until the people of Medina themselves chose to embrace him and show allegiance to him. He had met them multiple times before his migration, and they accepted him as one of their own, to where they will defend him as they will defend their wives and children. He did not force himself on them. They came and recruited him to them. As he's walking into the city of Medina, people will come and hold on to his camel, hoping that he will be their guest in their home. And to not hurt anyone's feelings, he would only repeat, "Da'uha fa'innaha ma'mura." Leave that camel alone, it knows where it's going to land. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, who hosted him eventually, showed the extreme love that he had for the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not someone that came and took over, but someone that came and added to what was and what is in the city. He was confused to either let the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam reside on the upper floor or the lower floor. He felt that if he is on the upper floor, if he needed something, it would be too far for him. If he had allowed him to reside in the lower floor, he hated to walk on top of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he and his family are on the upper floor. What kind of love is that? Not fear, it was love. He did not come and shuffle the leadership of Medina. He came and created an alliance to put an end to the killings that existed among the tribes of Medina. That is a state where people dream to live under. And year in and year out, we have never read that we celebrate the establishment of Islam by the loss of lives of others. It is said that over 250,000 indigenous Indians were killed just during the time of the first president, George Washington. In this state itself, they celebrate the indigenous people by building structures of wood, because the wood reminds the people of the indigenous Indians that were here. It truly reminds of how they burnt their homes and replaced it with their own. What's left is names. What's left in our history is fame for the people of Medina. During the Battle of Hunayn, when the battle was over and there were a lot of spoils of war, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam took those spoils and distributed most of them to the people of Mecca. The people of Medina felt neglected and left out. And as in every community, there are those who would say things to divide, not to unite. And even those who are good sometimes say the wrong things. They said that Mohammad had found his family and forgot his friends. He's given all the spoils for the people of Mecca and not given us any. We were the ones that embraced him. That is exactly how Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul wanted to take advantage of the generosity of the people of Medina during the battle of Bani al-Mustalif. He said the example of us and them is like feed your dog so he can grow to bite you. And he pledged to kick out the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the city of Medina, as he claimed himself to have all the honor and pride. But look at the loyalty of the state to remember the support of the city that embraced them. But Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought all the Ansar, all the people of Medina together and met with them alone. He said, it had came to my attention that you have said this and that, and you have said that I have found my family and forgot my friends. I have given all the spoils to the people of Mecca and did not give you any. And then he said a statement, wouldn't it please you that people return to their homes with cattle and you return with your prophet? Wallahi, if people were to take a path, a valley, and Al-Ansar were to take another path, I would take the path of Al-Ansar. That is the pledge he gave them and the pledge he kept. He became one of them as they became one of him. His emotional nature towards his family did not drive him away from the family that embraced him. We still, in this nation, just give those indigenous folks a tax-free income. They have no status. And many European nations made their history through might and destruction, through slavery and occupation, just like we see their support today for the Jewish so-called state, where before and prior to 1948, there were none that was in that region called Israel. And now, the native Palestinians, the people of the land, for over 75 years has dwindled from 100% of the population to less than a quarter of that. And constantly, every day, there is a genocide to cleanse that area from the rightful owners of that land. History with the West repeats itself. It is not just a new phenomenon that Israel is doing today. It is what the Brits did for many of our countries. Whether you're looking at Africa across the continent, or many of the Middle East countries, or even Asian countries and the subcontinents, they marched into these countries and robbed it from all its goods, stripped all the people's freedom, and killed those who wanted to breathe a little of hope. It is not a new phenomenon. So as many people celebrate under the impression of the land of the free and the home of the brave, it is only the home of the oppression and the land of the... You can finish. We need to learn our history. Our history. History that humanity cannot duplicate. History that gives people dignity and honor, that elevates the weak to the level of the strong, that carries the poor to a decent life to where he's not being taken advantage by the so-called privileged. If yesterday was to remind us of something, then it should remind us how we start. How it started, because you cannot escape from your beginning to have a better ending. You have to start right for you to find the ending more pleasant and more honorable. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ثم أما بعد. I'd like to take the last 5 minutes or so to talk about an event that we're having next week. نود أن نتحدث في الدقائق الباقية عن نعمة ينعمه الله تعالى علينا في الأسبوع القادم إن شاء الله. We have a family event, 2 nights of Quran that we and our families can live with. Moments that we can uplift our spirituality and our connection with the Quran al-Kareem. We will be blessed to have one of the renowned international Qari visiting this area from Qatar. Young, but full of knowledge of what he knows of the Quran al-Kareem, with a voice that can only shake every heart and soul. We will be blessed with the Sheikh Hakim al-Dukhayn. If anyone has ever heard him read, they will understand what tranquility means. I personally have taken him as my favorite Qari. At moments of my own stress, I would use his voice to relieve and release that stress. At moments of my sleepless nights, I have blessed my ears and heart in using his voice to put some calmness for me to sleep. We will all have that opportunity next week. On Friday night, he will be here, and he will also be here for the khutbah. He will give us the Friday khutbah, and in the evening, we'll bring our families to hear something precious. And all of you are invited to come. Saturday is just an additional blessing to that, to where we will also have Sheikh Hassan Saleh, the Qari of the United States, who we have had before come to visit us. Will join with him Sheikh Ra'd al-Rawsan, one of the well-known Qari's and Munshid. And we will have a family night to be remembered in this center, inshallah ta'ala. We want all of you to come. Invite everyone behind you that you know to come. This will be also a help for the masjid. That's why we would ask you to pay $35 as a family to attend. $25 if you're individual and young. That will go sadaqah for the masjid, but more importantly, you can't put a price on an evening like that. You cannot put a price on an evening where you put all the world aside and live in that spiritual aura of the Quran al-Kareem with such guests, inshallah. الأسبوع القادم يوم الجمعة الخطبة ستكون للشيخ هيثم الدخيل، أحد القراء المشهورين في العالم، صاحب الحنجرة الهادئة والصوت البلبل الجميل الروحاني الفذ الذي عجز كثير من الناس عن تقليده. ويوم السبت سيكون بصحبة الشيخ حسن صالح قارئ أمريكا والشيخ رعد الروسان منشد العالم وقرائها. فالجميع مدعوون إن شاء الله لمجيء أسرهم وأولادهم وأصحابهم وذويهم، وبلغوا من وراءكم على الحضور إن شاء الله سبحانه وتعالى. هذه نعمة أنعمنا الله تعالى بها ومنة منه لهذا المسجد. أسأل الله تعالى أن يكثر من هذه المناسبات. التذكرة $35 للعائلة، 25 إذا كنت فردا. ليست القضية 35 أو 25 بقدر مجيء أولادك لسماع القرآن الكريم، لا يوضع ثمنا على ذلك أبدا. فأسأل الله تعالى أن يحيي القرآن في قلوبنا، وأن يحببنا الإيمان، وأن يزينه وأن يجمله في قلوبنا، وأن يثبتنا على الحق، ويجعل القرآن على ألسنتنا نابعا من أرواحنا وقلوبنا، وأن يكون هاديا لنا ودستورا لحياتنا، وأن يحفظنا به ويحفظ أولادنا، إنه سميع مجيب الدعوات. اعلموا أحبتي في الله أن الله تعالى يقول: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. ثم اعلموا أن الله تعالى يقول: إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون، فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم، ولذكر الله أكبر، والله أعلم ما تصنعون. وأنتم
الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله 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 الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد، الله الصمد، لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله 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 الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.